Grace to you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, wherever you are. It's a great opportunity that our Father has granted us once again, and we are going to grow, increase, expand, and be established in Him. Glory to Jesus forever. Now today, the best thing you can do every day is to make sure that you've moved forward. Why? Because times and seasons can only help us to number and calculate certain things, but the truth is we cannot go far if we do not utilize or take advantage of it. We should learn to take advantage of every day. I will tell you why. Because the nature of things, the way God has created us and how God has intended us to grow, is just amazing, but it's also interesting. You cannot eat the food that you're supposed to eat in the year and eat it in one day. What you need to eat it. You eat every day, that consistency, because you have to give space for the digestive system to do its work, and then the whole body also receives the nutrients that it got in, and the rest gets out. I mean, there's a certain system. So the reason why you need to eat what you need to eat that very day is to allow the rest of the organs to do their work. So you are created that way, okay? And it's important to know it. So when you skip eating for the whole week and then try to eat the next week, the next day after the week, after that very week, you eat one day and try to compensate the previous week that you did not. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is every day you're supposed to improve. Why? That's how it is. When you skip that day and you eat nothing or you do not move forward, you are going to be stagnant and delaying yourself for nothing. So you have to understand how things operate or work here. Glory to Jesus. Now, in Judges chapter 4, we read from verse 1, but now we are on verse 8. We saw the story of Deborah, the prophetess, who is now calling upon Barak. Barak was the commander of the army of Israel, and is telling him that he should go and take certain strategic positioning in order to defeat the Canaanites' army, which was led by their commander called Sisera. So the army of Sisera versus the army of Barak. Barak represents Israel, and Sisera represents Canaan. Okay. But Deborah is a prophetess. She's the one encouraging Barak to go and win, because she said if you go, you will actually defeat them, because they were for 20 years under slavery. This king had taken over them, that king of Canaan, whose name was Jabin. So, but we saw something that was very interesting, because I'm talking about knowing yourself, and what we are discovering is that Jabin is a man, Sisera is a man, Barak is a man, but we have a woman here called Deborah. Now, I want you to know something, because you were talking about knowing yourself. When you talk about a prophetess, you could be something else. Okay, maybe help, try to be there, close and support somebody. But when you call yourself, if you're a prophetess, again, like I said, that was so strange. Especially in Israel, you won't find many prophets. I mean, look in the Old Testament, how many prophetess do you see? How many? If it's not the only one that is mentioned, of course, I can assume that there were probably some others, but this one was mentioned in the Bible. So this woman called Deborah is unique. She becomes an inspiration now, because you cannot stand in that time and period and confess to be a prophetess. But there were things that were proven, that could prove that she was a prophetess even then. And in fact, I just want you to see something here. When you were called a prophetess or a prophet, that meant that God used to talk to you. So that means there were proof that God had spoken to her, or God used to speak to her. And of course, you cannot be used of God as a prophetess or a prophet unless God has helped you to know yourself, that you're even a prophetess. Because knowing that you're a prophetess, it means that I can be used of God, and God can use me to do anything He desires. Because back then, those were the men and the women of God, prophetess and prophets, mama. So you see, she had allowed God to use her, and she's been used of God, and she's now shining, because not many prophetess you'll find. I mean, even in the entire Bible. You see, when you know yourself, when God reveals, and imagine, I wonder when God appeared to this woman, for instance, the first time and said, look, Deborah, you're going to become a prophetess. Imagine what she said. Because she would ask herself, I've never had any prophetess. How can that work? Are they going to accept me? Israel cannot listen to me. I'm a woman, and so on and so forth. But you see, this is what I'm saying. We've got to know God and know ourselves. Could it be that we are probably hiding somewhere because we are thinking that, culturally speaking, we are not allowed to be certain things. We are not allowed. You see, that's why, for instance, you see how the world is structurally built. All right? The way the world is structurally built is there are certain elites, middle class, and lower class. And so that structure seems to suggest that you cannot move from the lower class to the elite or middle class. I mean, you have to go probably to the next level, which is middle class. By elite, you're not allowed to get there. I mean, when you see how the world is structured, there are things you might conclude that this is it. But I'm telling you, here we have a woman who's going against all the odds, all limitations, everything that was against women, whatever they said, she went above it and she listened to God. She became a prophetess. I'm just saying she was a prophetess. And I just wanted to discuss that. Think about you being a prophetess at that moment. Even being a prophet, it wasn't easy. Now imagine being a prophetess. I want us to learn something about it. See, because she was known. Do you know that she was a prophetess for a period of time and she wasn't leading anybody? All right? Because later, that's where she began to to encourage Barak, because verse 8 says, then Barak said to her, if you will go with me, then I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. So the Bible is showing us that the time came whereby even the king of, the chief command, the command of the army of Israel was saying, if you don't go with me, I won't go with you. Like I said, what did he see in her? Definitely it was not the first time he heard of her. She had proven over and over again that God used her and talked to her. and she had probably prophesied things and they came to pass. All right? But she had not come to the scene or appeared to the scene. But I want you to understand what was going on. And maybe some people didn't believe in her. Some people can go on a certain, can go extremely against such things because they are new to them. Probably she struggled even to let Israel accept that she's a prophetess. And she was sent by God to be the answer, the solution. In fact, this is one of the cases where we find, yes, the army commander, the commander of the army of Israel is going to fight, but actually who is the one that is behind, the one God used as a judge? Deborah, the prophetess. God is using her. And do you know that she didn't fight like just ordinary fight? I'll show it to you. I will show you more how she did it. But this was unique and different. Again, I'm saying, maybe you were not supposed to do it like everybody did. Maybe you might look at yourself and think, oh, for me, I'm a woman, or you are limited this way, or the society says this, or society says that. But you know, this woman to rise in such a time as that, in such a time, it wasn't easy. Think about the courage she had, to the extent, like I said, the army commander looked at her and said, if you don't go with us, we're not going. It seemed that they had seen God in this woman. They had seen something special. They saw hope. He saw hope in this woman. In fact, he was so convinced that as long as Deborah stands with us and goes with us on the battlefield, though she's not fighting, she's going to be there with me, then I know victory is mine. There was something in this woman. Could it be that probably God is calling us to influence certain people so that those people may do their responsibility? You might not be the one, you might not be the one called to go on the field and do the work. But there's a person you are supposed to be inspiring and pushing that man or pushing that woman or pushing that child or pushing that person to be all that God called them to be. And that was the role of this woman. She knew herself. She stood in her office. And she's the inspiration of the army commander. And Israel is going to win, not because she fought, but because somebody who was supposed to fight for them was encouraged by Deborah. You see this? Just get to know God and know yourself. You might be the first to do it. Oh my goodness. Shalom, shalom.